Obi Emelonye. My company is called the Nollywood Factory, based in the UK, Nigeria, Liberia, and Ghana.
Hey, it's Kellen. And today on Diversified Game, this is more than a treat. We have royalty. We have Nigerian movie royalty. We have Obi Emelonye on the show, and he is going to tell us, because we're late behind here in the States, you guys, as far as what we're able to see on Netflix and online, but he even has a YouTube channel. And you guys have seen his films, Heart and Soul, Last Flight to Abuja. Some of you have even seen Heart to Heart, and the list can go on. But okay, I want to welcome you, brother. How are you doing today?
Hi, Kellen. Well done, well done. This is my Larry King live moment. You know, when you arrive, you get a Larry King live moment. So when you arrive, you get a Kellen interview. So I've arrived. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for even doing this, because this is something that in America, we're 6 years behind at least as far as the greatness that you have put together. But I really want to inspire some people here. So I need you to let the people know, because I didn't even give you justice to say that this man used to play professional football. This man is a barrister. That's a lawyer for you Americans who don't know what a barrister is. He is multi-talented, and I just have to know.
He's a jack of all trades.
Yes, but I know it's not easy. It's not easy. So I'm going to jump into it and let the people do their research and even pause the interview to go look and put this in their playlist and put this on their watch list. But I want to know, with all of your talent, what was the easiest thing that you did? Was it football? Was it law? I know it wasn't movies, and we're going to go deep into that. But what was the easiest thing for you?
Is there anything in life that is easy? There isn't. Everything you want to do, no matter the sphere of life that it comes under, demands work, demands dedication, demands focus, demands stamina, demands a never say die attitude. So, I would say that I have done what I'm supposed. I have done what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. So, as a very young man full of energy and enthusiasm and adrenaline, I played football. When I say football, I mean soccer. And I did that to the best of my ability. And when it went to let it go, I let it go. Went to university, studied for a drama degree originally. And after that, did a law degree, practiced law for a little while, got what I needed from it, and let it go. I started filmmaking, which I consider to be my retirement career, and I'm doing my best in it. So in a way, I have focused on a particular thing at a particular time and given it my best shot, won the T-shirts, given it away, and moved on. And I think what I take with me from all these various careers is for argument's sake, from football, I take the winning spirits. I take the healthy competition that you develop as a professional sports person. From law, I take the adroitness and presence and intellect as a lawyer and a business acumen that I've brought into my business too. And then from filmmaking, I have an exploration of my deepest imagination to touch people's lives without knowing them, without reaching them. So, I've done a lot in this lifetime, but each time I have devoted myself to one particular thing, and I've done it the best of my ability and moved on.
And it has been a journey. I heard of, you would think at your level that if you have an idea, the investors would say, okay, they're coming to you. Here's the money. What do you want to do with it? But the fact that I've heard in other interviews you've done that it's still a fight, even where you had to leave Nigeria for a little bit and, almost in a protest, like we've seen in Emelonye and others do. Do you ever think there's going to be a time that are you going to also have to maybe run for office so you can change things?
I know I'm good at some things, but I don't think politics is one of them. I think I'm too frank, too opinionated, too sincere, too unpretentious and undiplomatic to be a good politician. I say that as it is, and I can speak truth to power. So that wouldn't put me in a very good state as a politician. But hey, I believe that even as a filmmaker, we have a social, political responsibility to educate our, and if it is the only thing I do, if the only thing I do is to put a mirror in front of my society and say, society, look at thyself, then I would have achieved something. I would have changed minds. I would have inspired souls. I would have motivated young people across the world who are Black, who are green, who share our common humanity. And that I would go home feeling that I've achieved something in this life. I don't need to go into politics, but it's a tough ask to be a filmmaker in this present generation. It's getting better. 20 years ago when we started, it was almost a dead end, but now the opportunities opening. Also with the success of Black Panther has shown that Black leads and Black stories can be commercially successful. And we are trying to, make that argument as compelling as possible. In the meantime, we still have to battle the biases and the sentiments about our projects not being successful. We have to battle deep-seated racism and institutional discrimination. But hey, it's never easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it. So we keep struggling, we keep plodding on, and hopefully for our children and our children's children, we carve a path that would make life a lot easier for them.
Well, even with the success of, and I showed you this earlier, Sophia in London, they play this all through the Caribbean. I've seen it, even in Mexico. Show Bobo. These VCDs had international success. Maybe, they weren't on the radar of the masses, but then when you have a movie like Last Flight and so many others, that you've done, Crazy, Lovely, Cool, how does it get easier then? Now you're on Netflix, and so now, you have Americans of all sorts watching these films saying, hold on, this isn't the Africa they told us about. This is a different Africa. Wait, what's Victoria Island? I can't even afford to go there, and I live in Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills is a slum. But, talk about, does it even get easier with that, or now that you're getting more phone calls to get your ideas put out there?
I would say, just like everything in life, the higher you go, the quicker it becomes. So in a way, from where we started 20, 25 years ago as an industry in Nigeria to where we are now is chalk and cheese. It's like a humongous progression. But in spite of the efforts that we've made and the strides that we've made in trying to tell our stories and, defend our identity as a creative people on the international map, there is still a problem. There is still a lot to be achieved. For argument's sake, just like you mentioned, the sofa in London was a phenomenon. But if you look at the records of films that did well in the late 90s and early 2000s globally, you will not see a sofa in London. You probably sold more DVDs, more VCDs than any film in that era. But you wouldn't say it because when the narrative of the hunt is given by the lion, the antelope doesn't have a say in it. And that is the reality of our situation. That unless we start to tell our own stories, unless we start to value our own things and invest worth and value in the things that belong to us, the people would protect themselves and project an inferiority complex on us. So that's what Nollywood has essentially done, giving us the confidence to go ahead and tell our stories. The medium doesn't matter. The quality of the film doesn't matter. The important thing is that so for a little boy in Malawi, for a little boy in Haiti, he sees a Black actor on screen that he can relate to. He sees a star that he can say, I want to be like that person. That never used to happen. It was only Hollywood that presented us our stars. So Nollywood has been trying to rewrite a history of creativity for Black people and giving us the confidence and the, what I call the democratization of the creative process so that we can tell our own stories. So for somebody like me that's been doing it for a while, it gets easier, but I still struggle to find finance. Occasionally you find somebody that will walk up to you and say, I like what you do, let's have a conversation. But that conversation means that you have to justify yourself. You have to justify their investment. You have to make a pitch that would secure their investment and also secure your artistic integrity. And the two of them are becoming a tussle to, to achieve both at the same time. So, you know, in terms of what we're doing for Black people as a film industry, it's beginning to trickle down into America. Netflix has given us a great platform to reach the world. But once again, there is a disparity in the valuation of my project vis-a-vis, let's say you make a film in LA right now. In spite of your being a new filmmaker and me being an old hand, the valuation of your project will be maybe 10 times the will be given my project. So it means that even though we are working at a very high standard, the powers that be, the distributors of this world, Netflix, Amazons of this world, still view us with an inferiority complex. They see us as, you know, below par in terms of quality, even though we have viewership. You know, if you look at projects on, you know, and right now, platforms like Netflix can afford to get the analytics of who's watching what anywhere. So they will tell you an amount of people that watch a particular project from Africa or that watched it from America and the ethnicity of that person. They have all that information. So they can tell that we have a commanding voice in terms of who watches what on Netflix. And yet the valuation of our projects is yet to match the reality, which is that we are doing well. But, you know, we keep doing this, and very soon the day would come when they would say, give them what belongs to them.
Yes, amen to that. Because we know even with the bootleggers out there in the 90s, especially, Hollywood couldn't compare. Blockbuster had nothing on the bootleggers worldwide. And you said Malawi, Mulibonji to our folks who speak Chichewa in Malawi. But they had no comparison because one thing Black folks do, they hustle, and they were hustling these films worldwide. But we also have platforms like your YouTube. And prior to your YouTube, a lot of people were skeptical of how successful Iraku, IRORKU, you know what I'm talking about, Iraku TV, because in America, you could purchase that. But I knew many Africans who said, Kellen, do not give your credit card to Nigerians. I'm a Nigerian, my brother. Don't give your credit card. I said, hold on. It's a credit card. It's backed up by the banks and securities. We have to trust our people. And so how do you feel about, you know, big platforms like that I think have sold a portion, if not the whole thing, to Westerners? But do we have their support if you go to them, even in the past or now, to say, hey, I have this film? Or do they not have the amount of money that you need to make the film?
Yes, you know, the industry has been going on for a little while. And at the time when it was dominated by the VCDs and the DVDs, there were people that were thinking outside of the box. And one of those people is a gentleman called Jason Njoku. He set up Iroko TV, trying to, at first, sell DVDs online. And when that did not work, he started uploading, built a website and started uploading African films, Nigerian films for people to watch in the diaspora. And it was really innovative. It was something that took the industry to a whole new level. And, you know, it was a really dynamic, really intuitive businessman. And he approached me in 2014 and said, look, I believe that, you know, content is king, that distribution is a great idea, but he was thinking about going into production. And he wanted to benefit from the experience of people like me. He asked if I had a project that we could do together. And that project became a film called Thy Will Be Done, which we shot in 2014 and released in the UK cinemas, as well as Nigerian cinemas. And subsequently, it went on his platform. But it was on the back of that partnership between myself, the Nollywood Factory, and Iroko TV that Iroko TV realized their full potential. They realized that, you know, selling other people's content is profitable, but nothing beats making your own content, owning your own content in perpetuity. And they started Rock TV, which was the production arm of Iroko that has gone on to be acquired by Canal Plus, which is the French national carrier, you know, at a scandalous amount of money. You know, but that seed for production was sown by myself and a few other people that worked with Iroko TV at the time. Their budgets weren't great, but, you know, as a filmmaker, you make the sacrifices to make sure that you tell the stories. Because if you wait for things to be perfect, you end up not doing anything. So the likes of Iroko TV and a few other platforms that have come up are providing what I consider to be an alternative platform for monetizing, for exhibiting the work that we do. But the YouTube has always been there. I would say that I came onto YouTube a bit late. At the time in 2013, when Last Flight Abuja was the most watched film on YouTube by Google. They gave it an award as the most watched film in Africa on YouTube. If I had set up a YouTube channel on the back of that, you can imagine what where I would be in terms of numbers right now. But I didn't. At the time, I was feeling that, you know, I needed to stay in my zone, which is production, and let other people perfect their crafts in distribution and exhibition. But last year, I decided, you know what, I think the world is going with the depreciation of the cinema and the pandemic coming, all these things happening at the same time, it suddenly brought to the fore that every filmmaker needs their own audience. You need your own data. You need to have a following, not by proxy, not controlled by Netflix or Amazon, but you have a direct link with your customers and your supporters. So I said, you know what? I've got a lot of content that are, I would say, redundant, that I can use those contents to grow a YouTube audience and gradually get friendly and get personal with some of my followers. So that, you know, if I shoot a film and decide, you know what, I'm not going to the cinema, I'm going to release it on my YouTube channel, and I need people to pay £1 each to watch it, I can do that. And that was the plan. So the YouTube channel is something that I came late to, but it's something that I value very much, and I value the number of people that have supported me wholeheartedly on that platform. You know, but it's a journey, and we learn every day, and we try to do the best we can.
Well, you talk about being number one on Google. Let's brag a little more and say even that film you just mentioned was number one in the UK cinemas as well. And it had Ramsey Noah. And surprisingly, folks, you can see this in other interviews that he's done. He wasn't happy with that film, and he had stars in it, but you weren't even happy when they tried to set you up and give you 50 cinemas, and you said, You said, give me 10 so I can really show you. So I like that because you're more than a director. And I think that's where your legal mind came in of strategy and saying, I'm going to show you how popular this can be. Because if you would have got 50, you know, they would have said, oh, these films don't work, we'll never do it again.
Absolutely.
So how do we use that strategy to get it to America? Let's do 5 cities in America: Houston, DC, you know, let's pick the cities. Do you have an American strategy? Please don't neglect us.
Oh, okay. You know, I would say everything happens in its time. I tell people that I don't make a film for the little boy in Kuwait. I don't make the film for a little boy in the streets of London. I make the film for a little boy in the streets of Lagos. And if I can get that primary audience to connect with the story, then you can now have your secondary audience of the kid in London, the kid in France, the kid in America, and stuff like that. So my primary audience for my films are Africans. Then you have the Africans in diaspora, and then you have the inquisitive other people who would say, you know, what are these guys doing? Let's have a look, you know. So when I make projects like that, I target the immediate audience. And I'm happy as soon as that immediate audience kind of connects with the project. So, and I now feel that, you know, I first of all had to conquer, for want of a better word, I conquer Africa. And then the UK, where I reside, where I live, I've managed to make inroads into making them see what we're doing from a point of view that is not just disrespectful. And the next phase, and the big phase, is America. And while I've attended film festivals in America, in Seattle, and tried to conquer a little bit of Canada with Toronto and places like that, I haven't had a deal, a distribution deal in America. And that would be the next frontier. And I think to be able to achieve that, I need a synergy, a connection, a cooperation with an American established entity. For years, I've been trying to get to Tyler Perry to sort out some kind of partnership. But what has happened in the last few months is a cooperation between myself and a company called Borg Investments, who have decided to obtain a stake in the Nollywood factory with a view to helping us grow globally, including in America. So my company is now called the Borg Nollywood Factory, and the idea is that our next projects would have a footing in America, so that people like yourselves and the good people of all the good Black people in America can have an opportunity to see some of these stories that change perspectives, that change the narrative that we've been fed all these years, that Africa is so and so. You know, this is the reality. It is not a romantic view. We say it as it is. If there is a problem, we say there's a problem. But what you get is the authentic view. And I think very soon, the Americans will have the opportunity to experience that authenticity that we have.
When you say Tyler Perry,
a billboard just to get his attention. At one point, he said, you don't need to do that, but let's tag him, people. And maybe if we do need to put out a billboard, we do a billboard in front of his studios and say, Tyler Perry, don't sleep on Nigeria, and make this happen. That, you know, we got to do what we got to do, right? And I have some team members in Atlanta. You guys are listening to this. Please, let's talk about this.
It happen.
And what
Make it happen. We have the perfect project.
Yeah.
The perfect project. Tyler Perry has done great to establish what he has established. But, you know, we're missing him back home. And the idea is to collaborate so that he gets a bit of Africa and we get a bit of America. And it will be good for everybody concerned. I really look forward. I know it's going to happen someday. If your people can make it happen, then I would I will be very grateful eternally.
Well, I told you the conference, NAPTE, NATPE in Miami. It's a must. I mean, Atlanta is just down the street, around the corner, a black way. So we at least have to try and do our best. And there are some other contacts like Mr. Dungy and Open Home Entertainment. I'd love to be able to connect and really stay on, because you've done something that very few African filmmakers have done, and you've taken it not just to Nigeria, but you also have done a Gambia story, which, you know, a Sophia in London was the biggest one that I've seen at first, but what you've done now that it's on Netflix, you can say it's comparable, right? And because you are doing something that we need it. We need these stories. These are African stories, and we even need them to be told in New York. We need them to be told in Houston. And folks have tried, but they don't have, I would say, the track record that you have, which means that you have the wisdom and the eye to see 7 steps ahead. So we need these stories told, because, you know, Africa is not the future, but it's the now and the future. And you guys are living in paradise. So if it's a story that you're thinking of, you know, that a collaboration, whether it be for Cameroon, Dr. Nkang Stevens, I know he'd probably love to talk to you. Take another shot. How can people, you know, connect with you? What's the best way? Is it through email? Is it through LinkedIn, your website, your YouTube?
Today the world is a village. It's a global village. Everything is accessible. Everybody is there to. I'm very active on social media, all social media, the main ones, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. My email address is simply my name at gmail.com. And you can reach me. And I'm, you know, some people would ask me, oh, your assistant would delete my email. I said, hell no, I don't have an assistant. I do everything by myself. I answer every email by myself. So, you know, some good stuff have come from online. People have just randomly reached out, and we are progressing some kind of conversation that will lead to something really epic. On the other hand, you have the time wasters who are fishing, and you deal with them accordingly. So the best way to reach me is just to go online or search a Nigerian filmmaker. You'll find a few of us who are doing quite well. And you can reach any one of us and pitch the idea about a collaboration, about a story you have, with confidence, because, you know, we have to respect copyright. We have to respect people's ideas. So if you come to me with an idea, I would say, okay, let's do an NDA. On the back of the NDA, you release the confidential information, and we'll discuss it. If something comes out of it, great. If nothing comes out of it, your confidential information remains yours. You can take it somewhere else and do what you please with it. But I feel that our people are very skeptical. Just like somebody told you not to put your credit card with a Nigerian website. You know, there is no extra risk that you face in doing that, but it's somebody's mindset. So some people think in their mind that if you share your information or your story with somebody like myself, they would plagiarize it. No. I think my reputation, and people like me value our reputation more than your little story, if you know what I mean. But, you know, if we collaborate, we can make that little story a big story. We bring our experience, our expertise, our reach. So in 2010, I went to Gambia with the support of the then Gambian president, Yaya Jammeh, to go make a film about a little boy who uncharacteristically got into trouble in London with his single mom. And the mom decides, you know what, I'm sending you back to Africa to get some discipline. And the little boy arrives Africa, and 2 days later goes missing in a marketplace, and you know, meets up with this imaginary friend who takes him on a magical journey while his mother is running around looking for him. So it's a kind of a spiritual journey that I think most Africans, particularly those ones in the diaspora, will relate to. the issue of the motherland, the mother continent, and going there and things not being so wonderful, but still finding that connection, that umbilical connection with the place where you were born, whether it's you or your grandparents or your great-great-grandparents, that connection is always going to be there. But it might not be smooth. There might be power failures and there might be traffic blocks all over the place. But still, there's something about home, Africa, that pleases anybody who's Black. In fact, it's more profound in people that have never visited Africa before. Because people like me that were born there, we take it for granted. But somebody coming from America who has never visited Africa, see the elemental umbilical connections. And it's great, something that we need to explore a bit more in some of our films.
Let me tell you, the Mirror Boy story, the young man who really, he didn't get in trouble. Trouble found him, like
Absolutely.
we find in the West, right? We find this, and he was probably about 2 years away. If he was 2 years older, all those girls and those people that he was surrounded, it would have been a whole different movie where he would have got lost. Like my kids have been lost in Cameroon. It's okay, because not once has a child ended up lost in Cameroon and been harmed. I'll go on record to say that from abroad. They get lost in the streets. They're lost into the fun, into the pineapples. I was going to speak French. They're lost into what you've been missing. And I see a film from you. I can see it like a movie where you show a young person who is coming from the low income or maybe the high income, and they go to Africa and they live a paradise. And then you show what if they did not go, that they end up dead or that they end up in jail. And then they think about, what if I would have took that trip, like my other brothers, and I'd be living in paradise. And I see that movie because I think of that even from my own life. Like, I'm not looking for trouble, but trouble will find you in the West.
They would find you. They would find you. It's one of those things that the every institution of the West is almost geared against us. And you could have your nose clean. You could be walking down the street, minding your own business, and trouble will find you. Somebody will say you're resisting arrest, and that's it. You're gone. You're being arrested for nothing, and you're resisting, and you're gone. Jail the next day, and you come out with a record, and that means a life sentence. You can't get a job, you can't do anything, and you are forced into a life of drugs. And it's a cycle. And these people know what they're doing. It wasn't a mistake. It didn't just happen by happenstance. No, it's a scheme that has been planned to put us down, and we've played along for too long. If we wake up today and say, you know what, that trick is not going to work anymore, we passed that. And I hear you. It behoves of people like me to tell those stories, to inspire young boys to say, you know what, F your country. I have a home somewhere. I'll go find my destiny there. People have done that. I've done that very successfully. Would we all need to do that? No, we can't run away. We have to stand our ground and fight for our rights, so that the people that want to stay can stay. The people that want to come home, they're welcome home. But it's something that I'm thinking deeply about. I actually was thinking about the 10th anniversary of the Mirror Boy, to release a film of a Mirror Boy Part 2 that would tell a stronger, more identity-based story for Africans. But it hasn't happened yet. That's not to say it's not going to happen ever.
It shall happen, and you have so many more stories in you. I know, and so many more stories need to be told. And I know you've even talked about how Nollywood has helped get some people, even in Nigeria, out of trouble. If not, folks don't really want to rob. Around the world, people don't want to resort to crime, but when you're not good at traditional school for whatever reason, maybe you're a genius somewhere else, like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, they dropped out of college because they knew I'm a genius in something else. But a lot of folks don't get those platforms to explain it. And that's a Nipsey Hussle quote, you guys. May he rest in power. You're great, but you don't have the resources sometimes to show it. And sometimes family family is the worst people because, you know, Black people sometimes can be so discouraging at times. When you say, I have an idea out of the box, and your father, your mother, your auntie, your cousin, you're crazy.
You're a dreamer.
Yeah, you're a dreamer. It can never happen. How do you get over that mentality?
I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because when I came to the UK in 1993, my elder brother was afraid to drive a good car because he feels that the police would not let him be. So when I bought a decent car, he said, why are you drawing attention to yourself? I said, yes, I'm drawing attention to myself because I don't have anything to hide. I work for my money. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a criminal. I work for my money. I pay my bills. If I choose to drive a car, so be it. If they stop me and ask me for my papers, I'll give them my papers. But it doesn't stop me from suppressing my ambition, suppressing my lifestyle to please somebody. So for somebody like my elder brother, his ambitions in life had been suppressed by the system that told him that, no, you cannot own two properties at the same time. What if you're not able to pay? The fear, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of success. If you're successful, they will come after you and put you in jail. And that suppressed him. But I came with that free spirit to say, you know what, I'm going to hitch my wagon to a star. If I end up on top of the moon, great. And that was the attitude. So these people, our parents, our uncles, they've seen a different life from the one that we're experiencing now. And based on that different, you can imagine if they grew up before the vote, before the Black man could vote. If you are told that you don't even have a voice, do you know what that does to your personality? That does to your confidence? It means you're a nobody. You're just walking around empty shell. So that has bruised the African confidence and mentality so much that in order to contain yourself, you have to hide in your corner and learn to be a nurse or a house help or a gardener, because that way you don't attract any attentions. Hell no. We live in a world now where everybody can achieve anything. Obama became the president of the United States of America. If he could do that, anybody who aspires to anything can achieve it. And while we listen to them, because what they're giving us is advice based on experience, we also need to chase our own dreams. So if you wake up one morning and you say you want to be a rap artist, go for it. My problem will be if you try one record label and they turn you down and you end up in the street sagging your trousers, feeling sorry for yourself, I would shoot you if I have a gun. But if you say no to every door that shuts in your face and bang on those doors and do what the Jay-Z's of this world did and the Kanye Wests of this world did by ramming down that door, then at some point, it's a matter of natural logic, you'll be successful. So it is that never say die attitude, that perseverance, that dedication, that sacrifice that you have to make to be successful. No matter what it is you want to do, if you dedicate your life to it, refuse to accept no for an answer, keep steadfast at it, be smart, work hard, work smart. There is nothing under the sun that we cannot achieve. So I want my education just to have an education, because the world that we're facing going forward is not the world where you get employment. It is the world where you have to use who you are, what you can do with your hands, with your head, with your body. It is you that can make yourself successful. Nobody's going to pay you a salary on a job to make you comfortable. So it is that mindset now that I'm using to tell everybody that if your mates are going to university, go to university, get a degree, come out, but be who you want to be. And
amen. Amen. I call that monetizing your life. And I've started doing that since I was about 13, and people said that's crazy. And you are monetizing your life, whatever interest, because you're multifaceted. But also, you've created a movie, Heart to Heart. This man is the first person to do a film on Zoom, you guys. This is somebody when COVID didn't stop him and said, okay, let's do a Zoom film. And he made it work. It's been very well received. With all this success, what is a community give back that you are doing or that you want to do in the future?
Heart to heart happened. I was feeling sorry for myself. I'd just come back from Nigeria in March last year. The lockdown was beginning to bite. And I looked at my wife and she had a work meeting on Zoom and she recorded it. And it struck me, wow, you recorded that. So everybody used their mobile phones wherever they were, and she recorded it on a laptop. I said, why isn't somebody making a film with this? So I wrote a script that night about a young lady who's separated from her husband on the day of their wedding because of the pandemic, and they have to do some kind of a spiritual connection or a spiritual wedding. And I told a lady that has showed interest in working with me, who lives in London. I've never met her before. And a young guy who's a rising star of Nigerian film industry, Swanky, and said, look, I have a little project. It's the first of its kind. I will direct you from London via Zoom, and I'll record it. And we can put this out just to lighten people's spirits up. And that was it. Over a 2-day period, we recorded it, and I, edited it. At the end, I put it out on my YouTube page, and it took off. Apparently it was the first to be made like this. And I said, why didn't anybody think about this? I'm not smart, I'm not that smart, if you know what I mean. But it was really flattering that nobody had done it. And I think on the back of that, it kind of generated a lot of media interest with the BBC, Sky News, and the French national carrier, not to talk of the African platforms that wanted to interview me every single day. So it kind of lightened the spirits of everybody who watched that film, who saw the making of it, and even the story of the film. But I put it down to just simple out of the box thinking, nothing great. But in terms of having come this far, I set up a foundation on my 50th birthday, which was 4 years ago, incidentally. The old man is getting old.
And getting good.
I set up a foundation, and the aim of that foundation is to help young creatives, whether it is front of camera or back of camera, with access to the industry. Because you could be the best actor in the world, you could be the best script writer, unless you're given a platform to perform, you would end up maybe dying with that talent. So the idea is to seek out people who are talented in these fields, no matter how much experience or not they have, and give them a platform to do that. And that's how Heart and Soul, which is the TV series on Netflix, came about. It has absolutely nobody who's famous. It's just a bunch of people that I put together in an acting workshop, and at the end of that workshop, I cast them in the TV series. And it wasn't meant to win any awards. It wasn't meant to be this big project on Netflix. But because of its simplicity and because of its message of hope and optimism and opportunity, Netflix took it on, and it ended up becoming top 2 on the Netflix charts as soon as it was launched. So it's done great. So I am at that stage in my career where I'm thinking about not the hustle anymore. I'll continue to make films, but just like Spielberg, you would decide to make one film every 2 years or every 3 years. In the meantime, you are mentoring people, you are supporting people, and to be able to do that appropriately, to be able to not just use my experience as claim to knowing more. I'm actually studying more. I'm doing a PhD in film so that I can be able to impact not just my experience as a filmmaker, but also the academic, philosophical part of filmmaking, whether it is in the form of a film school, which I'm considering for later in the future, or to lecture in established universities, but to inspire not lecture, to inspire the next generation of filmmakers with, like I said, my experience, my knowledge in the industry, and also an academic background to justify it.
And this is why Nigerians are the most educated around the world. The education never stops. It never stops. What is an organization, or maybe there's a formula or a method for filmmakers who are listening or watching this? Most of our folks are listeners, but for those, it's growing on YouTube, who say, I need help with the funding. What organization out there will help me without taking 90% of my project and that I can pitch to?
Even for Western filmmakers, funding is still an issue. They might have it slightly better than us, but the funding for a film project, especially in this day and age where money is scarce and people would rather invest in brick and mortar or invest in shares that they know they will make their money back, almost unfailingly. Filmmaking investment is a very risky one, and most investors are risk averse. So a few years ago, it would have been easier to talk to somebody and get them to invest in your film. But more recently, it's become, even for people like us with established reputation, it's become difficult. So my advice to anybody who wants to get involved in making a film is to start small. When I started making films in the UK, about 2004, 2005, I had a few friends who had some wonderful ideas about a film they wanted to make, but they were waiting for the UK Film Council to give them $3 million to make those films. And fair to say that up till today, those films have never been made. At the time when I was starting, I told them that I wasn't looking for $3 million. In fact, I was not looking for any money. I would fund, even if it's £100, I would fund my own films by myself, tell the stories, put them out there, grow an audience, grow a reputation. You grow it to a level where somebody will say, okay, if that guy made this with £100, if I gave him £1,000, he will improve on it. So it is that organic growth that is important. Most filmmakers, particularly African filmmakers, want to fly into flying. They want to make an Oscar film as their first film. It's only M. Night Shyamalan that's made that, and you know where M. Night Shyamalan is right now. So it's maybe 1% of us would make our best film as our first film. The rest of us have to learn with our camera, use our camera to shoot something, edit it, just like I did with Heart to Heart, or get a small camera, a 5D Mark II Canon or a Blackmagic, just shoot something with your friends, learn with it, put it out there. Somebody will see it and say, oh, I watched a short film, it's wonderful, and they share it. And then Beyonce sees the short film and says, ooh, wow, who did this? I'm doing a video about Africa. Maybe you come and direct that. Do you understand? That is the way to grow. Because I don't think, except your dad is very rich or you have an uncle who is a big politician in Africa, you're not going to find somebody that will give you a bunch of wad of money and say, go make a film, if it's your first film. But if you have built a reputation, shown your hand and shown your craft with little personal projects, then you grow the confidence of an investor in you. That's what I did. That's what I recommend for everybody who wants to make a film to do.
And my brother, you have given too much of the game. So we are going to let them sign off and then go watch all the films if they've missed any, and then go subscribe to his YouTube. You guys, links will be in the description box. All you have to do on Netflix is put in his name. It's done. You will see the films. Tell Amazon Prime, tell Hulu you want more Nigerian films. I thank you for coming on, brother. You guys like, share, and subscribe, and be blessed.
Thank you, my brother. God bless you.
Podcast.